What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another episode of The Kingdom Says. I am your host, as always, Garrett Williams, and today I have got two men on screen with me here. One usual face that we see very often, Kyle Henning on my left, your right. How are we doing, Kyle?
Doing well. Seeing your face again here shortly after I just saw it not too long. A little peek behind the curtain. We're recording again after we just recorded last night, but
Yeah,
happy to do so because we've got a special guest for you guys.
Sure do. On the bottom of the screen, you can see him right there. He is the NFL staff writer for the Sports Illustrated, Mr. Matt Verderame. Matt, how are we doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Very good, especially now that you are here joining us because we've got a lot to talk about with this Chiefs season underway. A lot of very interesting storylines in the news today and all of this week. So, excited to have you here. Excited to kind of get your insight and thoughts on some of the things happening in the Chiefs world thus far. And moving forward. Obviously, the biggest kind of topic right now is the next week. Week 3, we've got the Bears coming up. It's going to be an interesting game. The Chiefs, I think, are already 10.5-point favorites.
It's only 10.5 right now. I saw it like 12.5
it might have moved
yesterday.
to 11, or 12. So let's just say it seems like it might be a little bit of a lopsided game, especially with what's been going on in the Bears world. Matt, I know you live in Chicago, so you're a little bit tuned into what's going on down there. Not a great start to the season so far for them, and apparently there's been a lot of crazy stuff kind of happening inside that building, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, right now over on SI Sportsbook, the line's 12.5. So the Chiefs are the biggest favorites of the week. And then, Wednesday is not helping the Bears cause. So their left tackle now has gone on IR. So he might be lost for the year. He is gone for at least the next 4 games. So they lose him. That line has been a wreck to this point. I believe they've given up 10 sacks on the year, which is right below, I think, the leader in the clubhouse. I think Houston's given up 11. The Bears line's not been good, and now they're without their starting left tackle, and there's been talk about Darnell Wright, their first-round pick out of Tennessee. Would they move him? Would they keep him at right? That seems to still be up in the air with the coaching staff. It seems to be favoring the idea they're going to keep him where he is. And then Justin Fields came out in a presser and flat out said that coaching might be part of the problem for him. When asked about essentially, and I'm paraphrasing, but why has it been such a struggle in the offensive scheme, but and also for the passing game? And somebody asked, well, could it be the coaching? So it could be the coaching. Essentially putting too much in his head, going out there. Listen, let's just call us what it. The Bears have been abominable on both sides of the ball at this point in the year. Okay, they do not do anything well. Fields has run for 62 yards, I believe it is, and he's leading the team. He's tied with Khalil Herbert. They both have rushed for that amount of yardage. DJ Moore was a non-factor in the first game, better in the second game. The Bears have been nothing short of really, really poor in just about every area. And now you've got a situation where Fields is coming out and essentially blaming the coaching staff for the way he's played. The coaching staff is talking about they don't know that Alan Williams, the defensive coordinator, if he's still the defensive coordinator, they're not sure. He's not with the team right now. Nobody's really aware of whether or not he's there or not. They're not commenting on it. It's very strange. And all of it leads to a situation where you look at a Bears team and go, I don't know. Like, where are they going with this? I mean, right now, DJ Moore, he leads the team with 129 receiving yards. The next highest receiver is 53. I mean, Kmet and Herbert are 82 and 60 respectively. But Mooney is 53. Chase Claypool has 3 catches in 2 games for 36 yards. It's an offense that is just bereft of star talent. And on defense, there's not much to write home about. They have 1 sack in 2 games, and that is Yannick Ngakwe's. So that's it. They are really struggling.
The Fields thing,
it's not good.
If you guys saw if you're watching this on YouTube, you saw my face when Matt had started that conversation. I had just looked up the quote because I had not yet seen Justin Fields' quotes today. That's pretty crazy for your starting quarterback to fire that out, especially after the clip that I don't remember if it was Brian Baldinger or Nate Tice, one of the guys that does film work on Twitter that's excellent. I can't remember which one it was.
Baldinger,
it was Brian Baldinger. The offensive line gave him like 3.5 seconds, and he missed
Yeah.
2 wide open guys running by themselves in zone. And then, like, the offensive line hasn't been good, but he's also been holding on. He's held the blank. He's held the ball the longest all of any quarterback this season,
Yes,
right?
he
He's
has
got
the
the
most
whole.
pocket time per drop back.
Yeah, you look at any of his passes, he just like hesitates on every single throw, basically.
It's like he's not seeing the reads when they're there. It's like and it's pretty insane because that was one of the things that he seemed to actually do mildly well at Ohio State was read the coverage that was across from him. Now, obviously, NFL defense's little upgrade on the scheme side, but what does that mean for him in Chicago? Because that coaching staff isn't the coaching staff that brought him in, and it's also not the GM that brought him in. So,
right. Look, I mean, whenever you see a front office and a coach that doesn't have a tie to a quarterback that's struggling, you always wonder about that.
And then he comes.
They could have drafted
public.
They could have drafted a replacement. They're the number 1 overall pick, and I got to tell you, they might have it again. And the Panthers, they own their pick, and the Panthers stink. So,
yeah,
if they finish in one of those 2 picks, like let's say in a world, okay, they have the 2 and the 5, 2nd overall, 5th overall. Your worst case drafting Drake May, right? I mean, you have to, and you're trying to trade up for Caleb Williams if you can do it, depending on who the team number 1 is. It depends if they need the quarterback. The Bears they're struggling. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And Fields is weird because look, Fields, the conversation about him got twisted in the offseason. Like, he has a record in his career of 5-22. He has thrown 26 touchdowns to 24 picks and completed less than 60% of his throws. And last year, everybody talks about like, he was great last year. He wasn't really great last year. He threw for 2,200 yards, 17 touchdowns, 11 picks. He completed 60% of his throws. He was sacked the league high 55 times. Like, yes, when he ran, he was great because he ran for 1,143 yards and 8 touchdowns.
A lot of running.
When he was throwing the football, he was not great. And I'm not saying it's all on him. Okay. They don't have a great line. The talent's not there on the outside. Fine. But like, it wasn't like you watched their passing game last year and went, oh, they look great. They just need a couple of guys here. They didn't look great. They were awful. And it has continued into this season.
It's
going to be real interesting to see his development as it continues because
that's crazy.
The biggest thing, like you said, running was like his biggest strength last year, and there wasn't much around that. And now this year, we haven't even seen that from him, and that's part of what his quote was saying about how he's trying to kind of play more of how he's always played, but he needs to kind of take a leap eventually into the passing world. And, it might not be with this coaching staff and this team. Sometimes getting a change of scenery really helps young guys. And like I said, the quarterback class is stacked next year. So it's going to be really hard for the Bears, I think, to look at it and not take a quarterback if they're sitting down low like that.
Sure. And this is not the week you want to be having an internal meltdown if you're the Chicago Bears.
Yeah. Especially going versus the Chiefs. It's not a good week to be.
This is not the week to have Hallis Hall basically be on fire as you're getting ready to go into a game where the Chiefs are coming off a win, but the offense basically is treating it like it's coming off a loss. So it's not
right. So they're so pissed off.
It's not great. It's not the week that is great for discontent.
Well, and you have the guy that you guys fired as the offensive coordinator for the team, who's probably still not super thrilled about how everything went while he was there. And you have your GM who's looking around going, really like that this is what we're dealing with heading into my old team's week. Really enjoying this, guys.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Nagy obviously having familiarity with those players and that team, it's going to help big time with kind of the slow, sluggish start the offense has had. And we've kind of referenced it a little bit, Matt, but what have you kind of seen from the offense so far for the Chiefs this year that's really just been, struggling for? I mean, the line play has been decent. The tackles have been a big point of discussion. The wide receivers have been up and down. Last week versus Jacksonville, we saw like 2 called run plays in the first half. So that might be something. It's definitely not the Chiefs offense that we're kind of accustomed to seeing. And, part of it's just, slow start, getting their feet under them. But what kind of big thing do you contribute it to?
Oh, I think a lot of it is just self-inflicted stuff. I mean, I covered the game week 1. I was in the press box up at Arrowhead, and by my count, everybody's different with this stuff, but they dropped 9 passes. They dropped 9 passes. One of which turned into a pick 6. and multiple ones that ended drives. One of which that ended the game would have been one of the best throws you've ever seen in your life on 4th and 25, and he drops the ball. So if they don't drop the ball a bunch in that game, they don't only win, they probably win by a couple of scores against a good Detroit team. And then you go to week 2, they took 12 penalties and had 3 turnovers. I mean, now the offense had 2 turnovers, not 3, but the team had 3. I look at the Chiefs and just say that's the problem right now, because the offensive line is giving Mahomes plenty of time.
Oh, yeah.
When they've run the ball, they've been okay. That typically has been the way they've been. They get better as the year goes on running the ball. And so I'm not surprised by that. Everybody's freaked out about the receivers. Like they did this last year. They had receivers like this last year. The biggest difference is Kelsey wasn't hurt for week 1 last year, and now he's kind of getting back into it week 2. If the Chiefs offense is their problem, they don't have a problem. Like it's kind of like if you're an NBA fan, the Warriors miss a bunch of threes for like 3 or 4 games. And people start writing these think pieces like, oh, what's wrong with Steph Curry? What's wrong with the Warriors? And the next game, they score 140 points because they hit 33s.
Yeah,
I just think that's the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to have a stretch here where they have 3 or 4 games where they average like 38 points a game. They're just going to.
You're talking about like basically like bet the over style with the Warriors every game, and you're going to win style. Same thing with the Chiefs. Yeah.
You are going to be what you are. You just like at the end of the year, Mahomes is going to throw in for 4,700 yards plus and 35 plus touchdowns. And if Kelsey is healthy, he's going to have his 1,000 yards and his 8 touchdowns plus. Like that's just who they are. My biggest takeaway from the Chiefs the first 2 weeks is their defense. Like if they continue to play defense anywhere near this level, good night. Good luck beating them in any meaningful game this year. So
this defense, especially having Chris Jones back here and there, and even before Chris Jones was in there, the D-line looked really good. And then you add Chris back in. George Karlaftis has been stepping up big time. Mike Dana, Felix has been one of the best rookie pass rushers in the league. Like that transformation, especially having Chris Jones back versus this Bears line coming forward. I mean, that's going to be one of the fun matchups to watch this week is seeing what they do to Justin Fields.
Yeah, and they haven't even had a Menahu yet.
Like, exactly. Yeah.
I was talking to somebody in the building the other day, and they're like, wait till Charles Menahu gets here. I mean, they are loaded. There's not anybody that plays on the defense that you look at and go, that guy's a weak link, and teams are going to attack that guy. Not to dump on him. There's not a Ben Neiman or a Dan Sorensen a couple of years ago where teams would just go, we're going to attack that player, right? Who are you attacking on this defense? Who are you going to go after? Willie Gay?
Teams seem to have chosen L'Jarius Sneed, which is an interesting option.
I mean, who are you going to go at? It's just they're so talented that look at them across. I mean, Karlaftis has a sack and a half. Dana has a sack and a half. FAU has half sack. Chris Jones has a sack and a half in 1 game. You look at them. I mean, as a team already, they have 8 tackles for loss. They have a lot of talent on the team, and frankly, if they don't get hurt defensively, they should be a group that is a top 10 defense this year. They have more than enough talent to be that, and they're well coached enough.
I was going to ask about the top 10 portion of it. The interesting thing for me, and then I wanted to talk to you about, is the different formations that we're finally starting to see from them that I've been really hoping we would get to, because they've finally started to get the pieces that Spags can use to do these defenses with. We saw a lot more 3-3-5. We saw a lot more NASCAR package or amoeba defensive front, whatever you want to call it. Partially because I think a lot of these guys are similar in size, stature, kind of the things that they do, especially along the line front. But what has that been, and what does that add as a dimension to this defense, especially when you're getting pass rushing snaps, like 50% out of Leo Chenal generating pressure on 4 of his 8 pass rush snaps in one game?
I think it's something that it just makes you hard to prepare for. When an offense is looking at you on film and they're seeing maybe 2 or 3 packages you kind of play out of the whole game, if you're talented, I'm not saying it's easy to deal with that, but it's like, okay, this is what we're going to be facing. This is the way we're going to combat this. When you're looking at 6, 7, 8 different looks, that becomes a lot harder. And one thing about Spagnuolo that I would argue that along with Belichick and Anarumo, he's right up there with. He is unconventional, and he's very, very multiple in the way he plays. They do a lot of different stuff. There are times where they'll line up one way and they'll run one defense, and they'll line up the exact same way, and they'll attack you totally differently out of that same lineup. And that's a rare thing. It's a hard thing to do. You have to have smart players. You have to have players who've been in the system. And I think that's a big part of your question about why are they doing it this year more? Because these guys have experience now in the defense. I mean, this is Bolton's 3rd year. This is Gay's 4th year. Jones has obviously been the defense and Spags got there. Karlaftis his second year, Cook's second year, Reed's second year, Snead's fourth year, McDuffie's second year, Williams and Watson, their second years. Like, the only new guys who are playing, Menahu when she comes back, Tranquil, who's a rotational player on this defense, which should tell you how talented it is. Got 146 tackles last year, and he's a rotational player for the Chiefs this season.
When Nick's ankle injury happened, every year prior to this
he would
whole
have
fan base would have died instantly.
Yeah.
Nobody even blinked.
Right, because you're like, well, they can just put in a guy who was top 10 tackles last season. Like, look, but my point is, like, Chanel's in his second year. The only guys who are in their first years really are Menahu, who's a veteran, FAU, who of course is a rookie, and Tranquil, who's a veteran. The rest of these guys have been in this defense for 2, 3, 4+ years. Like, they can do that now because they know the basis of the defense. I think it gives them a huge advantage.
Yeah, it's definitely. I'm having fun watching a defense, which is a nice feeling since it's been probably 10 years since we've had that feeling in Kansas City. Enjoyed watching a defense play football, maybe longer. Used to happen, but it's been a bit. So with all of that and the confusion that they can provide, they get Justin Fields, as we just talked about, and Zach Wilson over the next 2 weeks. They just they've only given up like 11.5 points a game at the moment between the first two for the defense. Now I know the offense gave up an extra touchdown in the first one, but what's a reasonable expectation for this defense in this next stretch of games here?
I think that it's very reasonable to expect this defense to rack up, 3-4 sacks per game these next 2 weeks. And I think it's very reasonable to look for them to hold these teams between 10 and 17 points. The Jets, I'd argue even less than that. The Jets, Zach Wilson can't play. They just know too well. Like Fields, at least you can say, hey, look, man, the guy's got legs and whatever. He can make you, it can make you have to respect that. Neither one of these teams can block. Yeah. Both of these teams have one guy in the passing game that you respect. And everybody else, it's like, all right, handle them. I think for the Chiefs, I will tell you right now, I think these next couple of weeks, Spagnuolo is going to be like a kid in a candy store with the idea we are going to blitz everybody. I think the next couple of weeks. Remember, if you guys remember, what season was it? It was 2021. And they were playing the Packers at home, and Jordan Love was playing that game.
Yeah, his first start.
I remember.
Go watch for anybody listening, go watch the film of that game. The Chiefs weren't even trying to disguise. They're like, here's 9 guys at the line of scrimmage. Here we come. It was they cover zeroed Green Bay in that game. I remember thinking I'm like, this is the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen. I think
you tweeted that actually.
You can't beat us. You're not going to beat us. And we're gonna jailbreak blitz you into oblivion. And I guarantee you these next couple of weeks, there are going to be times in these games where the Chiefs line 8 guys up on the line of scrimmage and just say, go ahead, do whatever you want to do.
Do something. We
don't care.
Do something. That was a big FU game from the Chiefs back then. That was especially they put Jordan Love's family on the top row of Arrowhead.
Yes.
And then just proceeded to absolutely.
The Packers did that. The Packers put his mom in space because the Packers are the ones that pick out who gets what tickets on their ticket allotment, from what I understand.
Yeah, that was not good. That was not a good day for Jordan Love.
They might blitz Jordan Love's family in this game. They are going
that's the thing. Steve Spagnuolo just absolutely loves going against these young quarterbacks,
He's just going to light them up with
how much security does Trent McDuffie give you doing that? Because in the past when they do blitz, it was fun, but it was like, I hope they get home. Now it's like you look around at the cornerback room, and especially I'm starting to get mildly irrational with Trent. He has, for me, a ceiling top 5 shutdown corner.
He absolutely has that ceiling. Yeah, he does. He could be Jair Alexander, like that level of a player. And they're just going to sit there and they're going to go, okay, L'Jarius and Trent and Joshua and Jalen. Hey, listen, 1-on-1, across the board,
do it.
And we're going to blitz everybody. And good luck.
Good luck.
They're going to just bring more than you, even if it's not always cover zero, even if it's just, hey, look, we're going to bring 6 guys and we're going to play one single high safety. Like they're not playing too deep against the Bears and the Jets. They're not going to do that. They're going to put a post high safety and just go, here it comes. I mean, they are going to blitz and then they're the Chiefs. And then they'll drop like Derek Nottie into coverage. Like just because. Like what the hell? Like that, they'll just there was a play against Jacksonville in the playoffs last year. In fact, it was the play where Jalen Watson had the one-handed interception late in the game, and Reed came on that blitz and he caused an immediate throw.
They dropped.
If you watch that play, Frank Clark is running one-on-one with Christian Kirk down the seam. Like, they just don't care. And their whole thought process is Lawrence isn't going to see that fast enough to throw it. Like, he's not going to make time.
Yeah.
They believe in their scheme. I guarantee you this week there will be a play that is full-blown, like just hilarity on the field, where they are dropping Treshaun Wharton on Cole Kmet, and they just don't care. I mean, because they're going to look at it like we're going to hit him so fast, that ball's just got to come out. And he's too young to recognize that, right? You know, you do it to Brady, you run the risk, right? I mean, he might see it and go, okay,
right.
I know where you're coming from. Nobody's expecting Derek Nottie to drop into space, right? So when he does, it screws everybody up. Like the center's like, what's happening? And then by the time you figure it out, it doesn't. He's dead. It's a 10-yard sack, right? Like, or he threw a pick because he panicked and he threw the ball into double coverage. Like, they're great at that, and they will.
It's very entertaining to watch. I'll tell you what, it's very, and like we said, you have to have a really good and talented defense to do it. But Spags knows, especially it's really cool to see him kind of really in his bag now after going through the process of getting his players. He finally has a real solid group of guys from top to bottom that just can absolutely wreak havoc with however he wants to. So it's real good to see. This defense is definitely one of the highlights, the highlight probably of the year so far, and it's only going to get better.
So it's funny, like Warren Sharp literally just tweeted this out like not even a minute ago, so it's perfect timing. But he's like, when not blitzed, Justin Fields, when he's not blitzed, 27 to 47, 57.4 completion rate, 4.9 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. Only quarterback that's worse is Zach Wilson. So his argument is they should not blitz as much. Maybe Warren's right. I have a feeling, knowing this team, Steve's just going to go, that's nice. That's fine.
Let's
see what he's like against a 7-man blitz. Like and look, you're the Chiefs. Like you have the luxury of knowing, hey, if it doesn't work early, fine, then back off of it, right? But I mean, and that might be the one other way they do go is maybe they sit there and go, you know what? Let's see it with 4-man rush. They might just be able to dominate anyway, and they don't have to blitz, and they just drop 7 and say, screw it. Why even bother with it? But I guarantee you, no matter how they play us on certain third downs in this game, they are just going to put 7 guys at the line of scrimmage, and sometimes they're going to drop 3 of them, and sometimes they're going to bring them all, and you got to figure out which is which. That's part of the beauty.
We'll see a bunch of DBs out there. I mean, I think it was Trent McDuffie who was talking today about how he likes it when Steve puts 6 DBs out there because there's a lot of you can tell the trust that Spags has in all of his guys to really use them kind of however he wants all of them. Like, it's not like just one guy is a Swiss Army knife. They're all kind of Swiss Army knives, you know?
Well, and that unit's extremely close. Like, I remember at the beginning of the year, that group of 5 that came in together and that DB room, they're super, super close. Now, I know Najee got hurt, but the other 4 are still there. And then you still got the guys that were already there and came in with them because I think Justin Reed came in at the same time. All those dudes came in with the new contract. So they've all been together. They're a really close bond. And also, like you said, they're Swiss Army knives. They all blitz really well. They all get home. They all can cover. They all can. It's so different to see this team do that. But we've talked about the defense a ton. And kind of the matchup. What does the Bears defense present to a Chiefs offense that's frankly struggled the first 2 weeks?
Presents a lot of opportunity. Look, the Bears defense has struggled mightily up front. I mean, Ngakoue has their only sack of the year. He has 1 sack. It's a defense that, quite honestly, when you look at them, there's a lot of youth in the secondary. Now, their safeties are very good. Eddie Jackson and Jaquan Brisker are really, really good football players. And that's where, if you're the Bears, you're going, okay, that's where we can hang our hat, right? However, if you look at them this year, yards per play against us, I think is a very good defensive stat. We just talked about the Chiefs defense. They rank 10th in the league. The Bears rank 31st in the league. The only team that's worse than the Bears is the Chargers by a full yard, which is really quite a feet.
That's the Chargers for you.
Yeah, it sure is.
He's going to win something, isn't he? Both of those teams have defensive head coaches.
In theory, yes.
Okay,
so
just checking.
The Bears are 31st in that regard. In net yards per attempt in the passing game, obviously net yard gains per attempt, the Bears per attempt are giving up 8.9 yards. So that's not great. You have young corners, unproven corners. That's Kyler Gordon from last year and Tyreek Stevenson from this year. It has not gone well. Their run defense is the one thing they're good at. They're fourth in the league, 3.2 yards an attempt. Now, if you're the Chiefs, you probably don't care because
we don't run the ball.
You don't run the ball. So what do you care, right? Yeah. But the Bears, look, if you're looking, are they going to bring pressure? The Bears do not blitz. They're 29th in blitz rate per Pro Football Focus. They don't blitz a lot, but their pressure rate, it's not good. So they're 26th in the league.
Yeah, the pressure rate still isn't good.
They don't get pressure. They're third in the league in third most in missed tackles. They've missed 21 tackles. I mean, this is a defense. By the way, yards after catch, they've given up the fourth most behind Philly, Jacksonville, and the Jets. The Chiefs, believe this or not, lead the league in yards after catch.
We've got some yak guys. I mean, we do have some yak guys.
So they're tackling?
So this is the Chiefs. Actually, the Chiefs receivers lead the league in yards after catch.
Okay.
The Bears are fourth worst in the NFL defensively. This is not a great match. Basically, the Bears are good against the run and can't stop anybody. I mean, think about this too. The Bears are that bad against the pass, and they've played Jordan Love and Baker Mayfield. It's not as though they faced like Josh Allen and Joe Burrow in his prime here. Like they faced two offenses that are not huge passing offenses, and they've gotten absolutely shredded to death by both of them. So now you're going to play a Chiefs team that, of course, even with their issues early, I think everybody would agree is one of the best teams in the league throwing the ball. And if people are saying, well, maybe the Bears haven't given up a ton of yardage, it's just on a per play. No, they're sixth worst, if I can say that, in the NFL in passing yardage against in totality. So they ranked 27th in the league, giving up 554 passing yards to this point. I mean, it has been.
There's no stat that favors this Bear defense. It sounds like
not in the passing game.
Much.
I mean, they are brutal. Really third down, by the way. If you're like, oh, maybe they're good on third down. No. They're 31st in the league. They are allowing 54.8% of third downs to be converted. I mean, this is the defense that, quite honestly, is terrible. Okay, I mean, this is a defense that just. They are not winning anywhere in the passing game, whether it's on the back end, the front end. I would expect the Chiefs to just air the ball out in this game.
Yeah, this should be a good defense for the Chiefs to kind of tune it back up, kind of eliminate the errors, just play real good sound football. Yeah. And you don't have much of a threat, obviously, going against this Bears if you're just passing the ball, which has kind of been not the forte of them so far. But there's a couple injuries on the offensive front. Kadarius Toney has a sprained toe per Andy Reid, which who knows exactly what that's going to mean for him, especially this week. Isaiah Pacheco has a hamstring contusion, so we'll see how that affects his status. And then Richie James has a MCL injury, which Andy Reid might actually be more long-term than not. So we might be losing Richie James, which, I mean, I'm not going to say that's maybe not the worst loss in the world, Richie James. Hope he's going to be good. But
we talked about it on the show that we recorded yesterday. Like, he has a very limited role on this team. He struggled in that role. If that's going to continue, that's not good. However, did not expect him to come up with an MCL injury and be out long term. Now they've got to look at that return position again. But other than that, I think it may actually free up some space in the wide receiver room for them to actually.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I feel like kind of one of the bigger problems the Chiefs offense has had so far is they've almost had to spread the ball around too much, right? Like there's just too many mouths to feed and kind of get them working. You want to get every guy working, but you can't. I mean, there's just not enough balls to go around with the 7 wide receivers that they were carrying. We haven't seen much of Justin Ross. We've seen very limited of Rashee Rice. So it's going to be interesting to see how those guys kind of step up with Richie James probably out. We'll see how Kadarius Toney is. But Matt, I'm very curious to see kind of who do you expect wide receiver wise to kind of step up. And also, of course, with Travis Kelce still not at 100%, we'll kind of see who steps up to the plate this week.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to be Rashee Rice, and look, he's played well to this point. Richie James has only had 3 targets all season, so I don't think offensively it's going to really change what they do, at all. MVS is a guy, like we know how MVS goes, right? I mean, he's going to have some weeks where he has 20 yards, 30 yards, and he's going to have some weeks where he's 110. Like, that's just the way he is. That's
He's
fine.
gonna have a couple of those.
This could be a week I see him actually having a pretty good game because the Bears corners, like I could see him using his length to be a problem in this game. But yeah, I think, look, you never want a guy to get hurt, of course, but I do think it does simplify their offense a little bit in terms of like figuring out who to throw the ball to. Because I agree, you have too many guys right now they're trying to feed. You got to just kind of, it's like the NBA, right? You got to shorten the bench sometimes. Go, all right, we're going to roll with these 8 guys. These are our guys. It's trying to play 12 guys all the time. It's a problem. Nobody knows their role. It's kind of clunky. I think the Chiefs are going to do that no matter what, injuries or not. But yes, I think, MVS's guy I look to, Rice's guy I look to. I think those guys will step up a little bit here.
Yeah, who do we kind of see taking over as punt returner then? I mean, we don't have Amir Smith-Marset anymore. We could trade back for him for the Panthers and get him back and have another 7th receiver. But they might throw Sky Moore back there. We might throw like Pacheco or
I don't know you see Pacheco. I think the more likely options are Kadarius Toney and Sky, but I don't know how Tony's what they'll do with Toney based on.
I'm not sure exactly who's even listed as the backup punt returner on the depth chart, but we'll see. Maybe just see Justin Watson out there. He was a guy that they used last year in a pinch that you just go out, catch the ball. You ain't got to do anything crazy with it. As long as you catch the ball, don't have the sun in your eyes, I think we'll be good. So yeah, that'll kind of be an interesting adjustment.
They have Kadarius listed as the backup.
Okay, so we'll see who ends up going out there for punt returns, because I'm gonna take a wild guess and say the Bears might be punting it a lot. How's the Bears punter? Is the Bears punter good? Is their special teams good? Is that a factor to consider?
Well, their punters had a lot of practice.
Yeah, that's something.
I gotta tell you, that's a good question. Of all the things I've been looking at this week, I have not looked at Bears punting numbers. But I'm gonna just for you guys. So let's see.
I'm curious. Also, the special teams. If we get any fakes punts or something like that, we saw.
As far as their returners, I mean, they rank 17th per punt return. The Chiefs, by the way, are toward the bottom. And that the Bears on kickoff returns, they're right in the middle. They're right in the middle of the pack. As far as actually punting the ball away, let's see. The Bears have not missed a field goal yet this year. So that's a positive. And here, punting. Okay, so yards per punt, the Bears rank 11th and the Chiefs rank 12th. So there you have it. The Bears have punted. How many times? Here's something that might surprise you. The Bears and the Chiefs have both punted 9 times this year.
Wow. Well, it would typically surprise me, but I've watched this offense for 2 weeks, so.
Yeah. That is very interesting to think about. So maybe special teams isn't that big of a factor. We'll see. Outside of the game, there has been a couple other pieces of news this week. One notable one, Mahomes restructuring his contract, moving a bunch of money forward from the end of his deal to the next 4 years, making him one of the higher paid guys in the next 4 years. Matt, how did you see that whole contract unfolding? Is it interesting, the timing happening, waiting until after Chris Jones is signed? And how did you see that all playing out?
I think certainly Jones, his situation was a priority, but I think a lot of it was waiting for these guys like Herbert and Hurts and Burrow and then kind of going from there. My colleague Albert Breer reported that this has been going on since a couple days before the Super Bowl. They talked about this. So I'm not surprised. It makes sense. Look, for Mahomes, the cap numbers go up now in 2024, 25, and 26, and then they'll renegotiate it after that. But the reality of it is for the Chiefs, I know there was confusion about this, and I went out and reported there was no shaving off years of the contract. Like, he's still signed for as long as he ever was, so there's nothing to worry about there. That maintains leverage for the Chiefs because they have him locked up. As far as like the cap hits go, I wouldn't worry too much about the cap hits for a few reasons. One, that the cap goes up. Two, they can trigger all kinds of movement within the contract. So they could snap their fingers and open up $20 million in space. So, and it's done that way for a reason. Mahomes wanted it done that way so they could move money around. You knew they were going to adjust him at some point. As great as he is, they're not going to sit there and let him be the 15th highest paid quarterback. Okay, they're not going to do that. Yeah. It's a bad look for them, and it's from Mahomes. At some point, it's going to be, well, what the hell, right? So I'm not surprised. You knew this was coming. I don't think it has some massive implication on the team moving forward, other than that, hey, their quarterback's happy. Cool, great. You keep him happy. That's you do whatever you need to do to keep that guy happy. Period. And they took care of business, so that's fine.
So I posed this because of quarterback one's tweet after the contract was announced and what it said and who it copied or mimicked, and then the way that his mechanisms work. This is more money in the banana stand in this contract sooner than they had it, correct? With them moving cash flow forward, now with the ability to restructure his cap hits and push stuff down the road and convert money to signing bonuses and all that, to split it out like they have in the past when they've gone into his deal and done their automatic restructure that they can choose to do before a certain date or whatever. That does moving that cash flow forward allow them to then go in and split that out and do that and create more cap room than they would have been able to from that contract, from the money that was there, so that they can maybe do something with, if they have to tag Chris next year, they're not hindered by it being 29.5 whatever $1 million it might be.
I mean, they have a lot of flexibility built into the contract, so they can always they can restructure, they can save $20+ million a year there. And next year in particular, like MVS and Justin Reed are on deals that end next year's their last year. So like the Chiefs could absolutely say either going to move on or you're going to give them an extension. And if you're the Chiefs, like that lowers the cap hits no matter what you do. So there's more money there. Like if they want to tag Chris Jones, they're going to be able to tag Chris Jones. The question just becomes is how do they want to go about it? I would imagine they're not letting him walk out the door for nothing. That would seem like a real bad idea. So I know people are always, well, they get a comp pick. Well, not necessarily. Not if they go out and sign players of their own. And also, he's worth more than a third-round pick. So, I mean, come on. Like, I love when people say, well, you're getting a comp pick for him. That's great. It's like a fourth-round pick. Congratulations. Yeah. I think, overall, like they have plenty of cap space next year. Overthecap.com right now projects all that stuff out. They project them at like $49.5 million, which is in the upper echelon. And that again doesn't include them. You could move Mahomes' monies around and stuff we've talked about. So they're fine financially. I mean, they have more than enough room, and all they did was essentially take money from the end of the contract, move it up to the current portion of the contract, and take care of Mahomes.
And make sure he has $100,000 more cash flow than Lamar because they reported that like 6 times on purpose.
Very coincidental. Yeah, very coincidental. So with that being said, that's kind of the biggest topics. One more thing that we really need your opinion on, Matt, here. This is maybe the biggest story of the past couple weeks. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Are they official? Can you confirm this?
Well, wait a minute. I thought Jason confirmed it.
I don't know if we can believe Jason Kelce on this. I don't know.
What, you don't trust Jason?
I mean, I just maybe need a somewhat more verifiable source than Jason Kelce trolling on a local radio show.
Also, it should be noted, right after that, he said, I'm kidding, but nobody picked up the I'm kidding part, which is...
Well, yeah, it's always convenient to cut it right after that, Yeah,
it makes people in my industry look great. It's great. Way to really be accurate, guys. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't confirm it. I can't deny it either, I guess.
That's okay.
But I will tell you, my daughter, who is going to be 6 here in a week, she's a massive Taylor Swift fan. She's also a big Chiefs fan, and she loves Mahomes and she loves Kelce. And so worlds are colliding for Mason. Worlds are colliding.
Very unexpected world. I don't know.
Like, we're going to go Thursday Night Football. I'm taking her to the Chiefs Broncos game at Arrowhead, and she now is like, is Taylor Swift going to be at that game? Because she's like, she is. We have to meet her. I'm like,
you gotta look out for her at least. You gotta look out.
Like, listen, Maze, I'll pull every string I have, but I don't know if I can make that happen. Like, but she's.
She also may be on tour at that point, I think.
She's got a private jet. She can fly in and sit in a suite with his family. We'll see.
It's a Thursday game.
It'll
be interesting.
We'll keep checking in on that.
I hope it's true. If for no other reason, it's just one more thing to add to this era when you look back on it in 20 years. Like, remember he was dating Taylor Swift? Like, what if it works out to get married or something, right? Like, I mean,
exactly.
Have like an SNL where he hosts and she's the musical guest, and like, it's been
good Lord.
You see that dynamic?
I'm all for all of it.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
I'm here for it.
Watching the Twitter worlds collide a little bit has been interesting in some segments.
That sure is two very different fan bases right there.
We've covered a bunch of the Chiefs stuff and a lot of the NFL stuff. One last thing I want to ask you about the Juwan Taylor conversation, I guess is the way to phrase that. Chiefs fans obviously feel like Juwan Taylor's been the target of that conversation. Feel like he was targeted some in that game. Quarterback one mentioned picked on a little bit. I thought was a nice way to not get fined by the league for saying that they targeted his right tackle. So looking around the league at the increased enforcement on it league wide, what did we see? I know you tweeted about it a little bit, but like, can you give us a little more kind of what they saw, what you saw from a trend? Did they actually what went on there?
So in week 1, they called 7 illegal formation penalties. And in week 2, they called 10, which I know people are like, oh, big deal. That's like a 30% increase. It's actually, especially after week 1, the NFL sent out a teaching tape to all 32 teams and the officials and put on here, hey, these are some of the calls that were missed. This is some of the stuff we're going to crack down on in week 2. This is what we're looking for. And at the end of that tape, my understanding is they showed a litany of missed illegal formation calls, multiple ones, including Juwan Taylor. Okay. Wasn't the only one.
Poster child for that. Yeah.
Wasn't the only one, but he was one of them. And so you still had a 30% increase even after the league told all these guys, hey, look, don't do it. Now, I have a feature coming out on Friday about this. I talked to Mitch Schwartz. I talked to Dean Blandino. I talked to Jeff Schwartz about illegal formation and tackles and why they line up the way they do. And it's honestly, I learned way more than I thought I was going to learn about all this stuff.
Nice,
it actually, if I may say so, it's pretty interesting. It's coming out Friday at SI.com. I hope people.
I'm very curious about that. Yeah.
It was interesting though. Like, so I was talking to Dean Blandino, who used to be the NFL's vice president of officiating, and now, of course, is a rules analyst for Fox. And he was basically saying, look, the protocol is, game starts, players are playing, and the official, let's just use Juwan Taylor for this. Okay, the official will come up to Juwan Taylor and go, hey, look, Juwan, you're too far off the line of scrimmage. I'm not throwing a flag yet. It's a warning. But I'm just telling you, like, you're too far off the line of scrimmage. You got to get up. A lot of linemen and receivers, I shouldn't say line, tackles and receivers will look at the official, look at the linesman and say, am I good? Am I good? Okay, I'm good. Okay, I'm good. Or, oh, no, I got to move up a step. Okay, I'll move up a step. They don't want to throw the flag for every infraction. They'd be there all night long, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the official will also tell the coach, like in this case, hey, Andy, listen, Juwan's off the line of scrimmage. He's got to get up in the line of scrimmage. Then if they don't listen, then you get the flag. Like I asked Mitchell Schwartz, did you ever get warned when you were playing? And he said, yeah, every game, the first drive. I got warned every single game, first drive of the game. I made them do it. He goes, because otherwise, what was I going to do it for? Goodwill? Like if you're going to give me the space, I'm going to take it. And so, one of the things I learned, a little teaser for the story, is tackles don't align off the center and the ball. They align off their guard. So the deeper the guard is, the deeper typically the tackle is going to align, because it almost gives you optical illusion that they're not that far off the line of scrimmage because they're not that far off the guard. And so but the Chiefs in their scheme, the guards don't set as deep as some other teams like Philadelphia. So Taylor looks like he's way off. Now he is off. Don't get me. That is the one thing I kind of have laughed with Chiefs fans about this week. Like, oh, they're going after Juwan. I'm like, he's not even close to the backside of Creed.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
As Chris Collinsworth says, he's out there lined up at slot receiver sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, and he is. Now, I will say, look, I get why Chiefs fans get annoyed, but they also have to understand, like, this isn't selective enforcement, but they play in prime time a lot. Prime time games drive narratives because everybody sees them. Like, I keep having people tweet at me because I was the one who broke this whole story. And people are like, well, then why wasn't it called in Jacksonville? Because no one was watching them. Nobody cared. Like, it didn't matter in Jacksonville. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. Look, he got called for penalties occasionally in Jacksonville, but it wasn't a national story because no one was watching Jacksonville beat Houston, right? Then you get into, it's the first game of the year. It's on prime time. They are an extremely watched team. And so when he does it in Kansas City, yeah, it's going to get more attention. It just is. But I think it's something that the league is cracking down on now. Do they crack down on it all year? Is this a point of emphasis that goes away by November? We've all seen that happen. Yeah. But yes, there was an emphasis. There was a 30% increase on those penalties. And it's something that, yeah, he's going to have to adjust because otherwise they are going to continue to warn and potentially call him for fouls.
Yeah, so it's not a quick adjustment that he can really make too. I mean, it's going to take a couple of weeks for him to kind of break those habits that he's had all of preseason and training camp, aligning and snapping off a different count.
See, but it really, for him, though, the snap's not been the problem. Like, they're not calling him. The 2 false starts he's had, the blatant false starts. But, like, he's not at a problem. They're not getting him on that quick out of the stance kick slide. That's been okay.
Everybody does that. Yeah.
Right, exactly. It's been his alignment. It's his alignment.
Right.
I don't think that's that. Like, move up half a step.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a
Yeah.
deal. I mean, he will be all right. He'll be. The funny thing with Taylor, he's actually been good when he hasn't been being called for
really
penalties.
good. Yeah, really good.
His problem is he's been called for a bunch of penalties. So they have to obviously fix that.
Yeah, and that's part I think was that's I think the most confusing part for fans and from watching it. Like the thing for me was I watched, and you mentioned Philly. I watched the Thursday night game with Philly, right? I think it was Thursday night. Is it Thursday night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you talked about the guards and their alignment. That to me is what I think probably is the difference point, because Lane Johnson and Juwan Taylor both pretty much in the same general halo of a spot on the field, but one looks farther out than the other. So with all that,
yeah.
With all that, the Chiefs will see the Bears this weekend. It'll be fun. We've talked a bunch about that. I gotta ask Matt a couple little fun questions here, because he's got his own stuff. So he's got his own interests outside of just the Chiefs kingdom here, guys. So hockey training camp, NHL training camps for this portion of the show is going to be for about 6 of you. So NHL training camps have kicked off, and Matt, I know, is a huge Devils fan. So how you feeling about your Devils this year after they overachieved for the first half of last year and then had some patches down the stretch?
They were great at 112 points last year. So they and then they beat the Rangers, which is like I'm a New Yorker. It's like my version of the Stanley Cup beating that team. I mean, look, I think it'd be aggressive to sit there and say, "Oh, I think they're Stanley Cup favorites." I mean, that's probably a little bit much, but I think they're very good. I mean, they could definitely be a team that fights for Stanley Cup contention. I mean, right now I'd have to look it up, so I'm gonna, because I'm me. What are the odds for them right now I mean, they've got to be one of the top, I don't know, 5 teams out there.
They should be
probably higher than the Ducks.
That's considerably higher than the Ducks. They should be in the grouping because they are. I was really impressed with the move they made last year.
They're tied for third. With Toronto and New Jersey, and then Colorado and Carolina are ahead of them. Listen, I think Carolina right now, you got to give it to them. I mean, they won the division last year. And Carolina is one of those teams, you look at them and you're not that impressed by their roster, but man, they just play great as a team. They're really well coached. They're great defensively. And so the Devils, I think the reason they added Tyler Toffoli is because of Carolina. You've got to be able to get some size and win in the corners and do those things. And that was something they struggled with. The Rangers, you can play like that because the Rangers want to play like the Devils, right? They want to get up and down the ice. Carolina is different. But no, I think the Devils, they should compete for the division. And, I think they're going to be right there. I would expect that they at least get back to the second round and hopefully go further. But I'll say one thing for the Devils. There's not too many teams who are more talented offensively. Like they got a lot of that. They're going to put it on you. I mean, that team, if you can't play defense, you don't have good goaltending, they're going to score. So I'm excited about them. I can't wait. They start their season the night that I'm at Arrowhead with my father and Maisie. So I'm going to be watching a whole lot that night.
Checking the score, looking back. Yep. Yes. I'm a Penguins fan, so the Metro sucks. I come to the point where like we've been in this so long now, like it's just such a gauntlet. It's 8 teams that all have a playoff chance.
Well, it's not going to Columbus
7.
Making the playoffs,
7. Well, 6.5. The Flyers probably aren't making the playoffs this year either.
I would argue at this point though the division's gotten a little easier. Like Washington's not
a little,
right? But I mean,
they got older finally.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys, the Penguins are
we're older
on the edge, and then the Islanders. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you think of the Islanders.
I don't know what to do with the Islanders. I don't think the Islanders know what to do with the Islanders. But they have their haircuts and their no facial hairs or whatever they're doing now.
I will never get on Lou Lamoriello.
I know, Big Lou in Jersey. So, and the other thing I had for you was, how much and have Count Chocolate have you procured and consumed so far before? Because I know you're a big Count Chocolate guy. So
I am. I'm on family size box number 3. So. We're not even in October yet, so it's good. I found it early at Meijer, and it's good. It's good. I actually I ration my calories the rest of the day, so I'm not like gaining 30 pounds during the fall
from eating 4 bowls of cereal.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that sounds really great.
You should probably tell everybody where they can find you, because I know they probably know, but if they don't, Tell everybody where you're at, because I know you moved spots from where you were a little while ago, and
I did.
still hang out with the boys over there some, I see. But
Yep.
where's everybody at now, and where can everybody find you at? And
I'm a national NFL staff writer at Sports Illustrated, so you can find me at si.com, the MMQB podcast as well. I do it every week with Gilberto Manzano, my co-staff writer over there. I still do guest spots at Arrowhead Addict on the podcast. I go on here and there. I'll be on a lot of the post-game shows. SI is kind enough to let me do that, so that's fun. And then, look, every week I got my stock up, stock down with the rookies, quarterback rankings, one matchup to watch in every game this week that'll make you smarter. I have a Sunday column that I got to say, I really love doing, where I react to all the games. And like the second the early games are done, we publish it and it's up. I'm writing it throughout the early games, and then we update it after the late games and then after Sunday night game. So there's a lot of stuff. I have the Friday feature coming out this week. And then I'm in the magazine as well. So go out and check it out, and it'll all be on my Twitter feed as well.
Nice. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on, sir. And also to everyone listening, it's been a pleasure having you tune into this one. Be sure to follow all of our socials at Kingdom Says Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go follow us on YouTube. Go check out the YouTube. You can see our beautiful faces and Matt's beautiful face live. So, and then any podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, all the good stuff. So with that, Bears game this Sunday should be a good one.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah. And to everyone tuning in and watching, thank you so much. And we will see you guys in the next episode of the Kingdom Says.